It's a family man, but he's like James Bond, but from Chembur. So he needs home loans. He likes vada pav. He likes a dinky little scooter or a dabba car.
What comedy means to you, first off, because all of your projects are all so funny in very different ways. 99 is sort of like a crime caper comedy. Shore in the City is technically a crime drama, but it also has a lot of humor. Go Goa Gone is a zombie comedy. Stree is a horror comedy. Happy Endings is a romantic comedy. And The Family Man, of course, which I still don't know what genre to put that in, but it is still very, very funny. So what does comedy mean to you guys?
We went with an observational direction with humor and juxtaposing things that don't usually go together, so that created comedy, I think.
I think naturally we tend to pick comedy as a vehicle when there is something important or key and in the case of Stree, there's a message that needs to be said. I think we tend to pick comedy as a vehicle to do it because I think a lot of things can be said in a very non-offensive or a non-preachy way in a comedy. Whereas in a drama, it might be like, okay, fine, they're preaching to us,
About Family Man. I think that's such an interesting example because you are blending and balancing so many genres together. And sometimes it's a tense family drama, you have the action spectacle, and there is so much humor. And it never feels jarring that you guys it really feels like one cohesive experience. So what the calculations that went into when can this be funny, when can it not? And was there ever sort of what were those conversations like of, when should this be funny and when should we focus elsewhere?
See, most of our writing, when we do it, I don't think we are calculating that. I don't think we are saying that, I think we should have a funny scene here. It never is that. I think the basic rule or basic point seems to be that the premise or the character is already in that zone. But the premise, they go to Goa and they get up and there are zombies everywhere. They're like, what? Or like this girl, this ghost comes at night and she goes after guys all the time. And you're like, oh shit. So you already have it. You already have such a good premise that you just have to milk the premise most of the time. It's a family man, but he's like James Bond, but from Chembur. So he needs home loans. He likes vada pav. He likes a dinky little scooter or a dabba car. And now let's give him a kid that is hyperactive and a teenage girl. It's not like they're funny in real life. A hyperactive kid is tough to handle, and a teenage girl has so much angst going about lots of things. I'm just saying, guy, girl, whatever. But given this setup, now writing each scene, if I'm thinking that I don't want to bore you, I want to say a point, then I write the scene with a sense of humor, a bitter sense of humor, and you don't mind crossing those lines a bit sometimes, where Manoj becomes uncharacteristically weird. He comes back and he goes, pay. Don't spend a day, a rupee on this guy. He doesn't know shit. Because that's coming from me watching my nephew somewhere, he was playing some flute, poor guy, and he wasn't so good. And instead of me saying, very nice, Keshav, you improve, next time you'll improve. I'm like saying, Keshav, it's pretty bad. Do it better, no? So he's also laughing. Mama, I know, of course, he's laughing. He knows I mean well, but
my joke is you should take classes. And he's like, I already take classes. It's like, oh, it's like Shore in the City was the first experience for us doing this, right? Like I said before, 99 was a comedy, so there was no serious risk of us spoiling a beautiful moment by being funny. But in Shore in the City, there were many potential moments like that where you could be too funny and take away the gravity of the situation and stuff like that, right? And we also, I think at that point, we also learned a lot during Shore in the City when we were making it. Our natural tendency was to, find humor in everything, but then we're also cognizant that this is a serious scene with depth. So we had to constantly keep balancing it. And we spent a lot of time on the edit, and I'm sure we would have probably our first draft, probably the mixture might not have gelled so well, but over a few drafts, we finally, the how it segues from comedy to a serious moment back to a comedy, it took a bit of effort. I can say that these days it comes a little more naturally, but back when we were making Shore in the City, it did take quite a bit of effort at that time. Another example scene is that scene in Shore in the City where these guys are just having fun trying to explode this bomb in the middle of a field, and they're joking about it, and people are laughing out loud. And in a span of, I think that's the most drastic balance. In a span of 10 seconds, it goes from that to, oh my God, for the entire theater. I remember standing in the theater, watching the audiences reacting to this particular scene, and they were laughing at these guys going and poking the bomb, and "Arey tu ja ke dekh, main ja ke dekh," and all that. And next thing you know, cycle tire comes, and a little kid comes running, and people suddenly, there's a unanimous gasp in the theater going. So, and it went from that to that in 10 seconds. And that's when we were like, okay, so we can do this. Yeah. That's like a learning. So we can do this. You can make them laugh, and all it takes is 5 seconds or 10 seconds for them to switch emotions, as long as you do it well.
And I have to ask you about the writing. You obviously write all of your own films, and you've said that most of the film is on paper before you go out to shoot. Is that true of the humor as well? Are all of the jokes and the gags, some of that stuff get discovered on set with the actors and the characters?
So 90% is on paper. We are writing it, and we are finding it funny. And in fact, some of the humor is sometimes lost because, when you're shooting it, you realize maybe not, and you kind of take it away. But actors, we trust actors a lot, and there is nothing like great casting.
And you also have to create that ambience for the actor, right? I mean,
yeah.
Because once we write it, and once we set up the scene, and once we are shooting it, you know what I mean? It'll never happen that we are out to set out to shoot a serious scene, and suddenly the actor makes it funny. It's probably not going to happen, because actors are that kind of people, right? They give into a scene and the character, and they go with the mood. So once you set that up, I think then the actors, they do wonders.
So the idea is now to extract and be aware of what you're creating as a whole. That becomes pretty challenging. Some like Vijay Raj comes in for one day in Stree, and we are like, oh my God, he's doing something else. This is not what we wrote. And looking at him, and he's doing something, and you're thinking, what am I going to do? This scene is, you don't know. What if it's a different kind of comedy and it doesn't fit in the picture? So that's when the whole control comes in. So how do you get that from the actor? And they always great. But sometimes you see the same actor when we send him a promotional video saying, hey, they want to do a quick funny video, can you do this? And nobody's there. They just do something else. So actors are like, they can give you so much, you better take the right thing for your...
But you mentioned obviously, actors and what they can give, and when they give you something different. So I was speaking to Vijay Das recently about Go Goa Gone, and he said that improv can be quite disastrous, if you improvise in the wrong way. But the advantage of a Raj and DK film is their characterization is so strong that they will always get the best out of their actors. So do you agree with that? That if you give an actor a strong enough sense of their character, then, improvising can actually lead to great results?
Yes, of course. When you define the character, when you give them the box that you are in, right? It could be a box like this. It could be a box like this. It could even be a strange box like this. So he knows where all to go. He knows where all he can run around and go crazy within that boundaries you put for him. And sometimes he's hitting it, and we are changing the boundary too. So if you're working in, it's a strange analogy, but if working together like that, of course it is. Because see, we write our stuff, so we know each and every bit of the character as we're writing it. But I'm telling you again, they always surprise us because they have a different take. Rajkumar Rao, I go and start looking at that scene, and he's like, why are you doing it like this? But then I realize maybe I like this more. So, but see, like a brilliant actor like him or Pankaj, any of these guys, they realize that they see the boundary very well. And some people, you have to show them the boundaries. It's not this. Like Amit Mistry, our very dear friend who recently passed away, he would, each take, he's give me something else. I'm like, Amit, what are you doing? I want the same as the last one. And he's doing in a third take something else. It's like नहीं मैं कुछ और करता हूँ ना, आप देख लो एक बार. So it's like, you metering it, and sometimes the tuning is so well that they look from far, right? They look from far. Manoj looks after a shot, looks at him and will say, and he'll be like, okay, one more, and he'll do another way. So all you do is one signal. Sometimes once you're in sync, you do this, and it's like, or like, that's it. We don't even talk so much. Some actors come and say, guys, you have to say that was brilliant. I said, I cannot say every time it's brilliant. All I can do is, that's it. I can't do more than that. But you're in sync. So, you gestures matter. One word matters in the mic. And, remind him of one little thing in the mic. And you say like, remember that scene, Seth? And I say like, oh, fuck. Okay, let me do it again. So it's that.
You guys have also worked with some very unlikely writing collaborators over the years. Family Man is co-written by Suman Kumar, who's a writer and stand-up comedian. Sita Menon you worked with on your earlier films. Go Goa Gone, you had Kunal Kemu working on the Hindi dialogue, and you had Raja Sen, who's a film critic, working on the dialogue for Boris, who's one of my favorite characters, which is Sev's character. So is that also another key to keeping comedy fresh, getting different perspectives and working with different kinds of writers?
Hello. I think Raj
it stems from the very basic need of not knowing Hindi, not able to write in Hindi. In 99, when we were writing it, we just didn't know how to write. We didn't know how to write in Hindi. We knew basic Hindi, but it's from TV Hindi, so you don't know. So you need somebody to write it. But then we were really, really troubling them to say, no, write it like how I would like it. So, so it became unconventional, the dialogues, so it became like, he would say it in a standard way. And I'd say, no, I want to say it like this. But he'll say, that's not how usually it's said. It's even grammatically off. I said, can you try it? Can you try it like that? So it became each line. I used to call my cousins and said in Delhi, how would you say this line? And I would write it in my own Hindi. So it would be line by line. I would be telling something in Telugu so that it translates directly to a guy from Telugu to Hindi or English to Hindi. So, but we would write every single line. And we don't want anybody to change those, because that's where it is pristine, even if it's structurally off. So when we were sitting in DK, me and Sita were sitting in some awards function long back for Shun City, and they were announcing best Hindi dialogues, and 3 guys, they're Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam. And we are like, wow, that's what we...
I mean, Sita was the only one who could actually speak Hindi, in real life, as in she could actually speak Hindi and get away with it. And, both of us were pretty bad in those days, actually. Like our Hindi was so broken that nobody would want us to speak in Hindi. That's how bad it was.
We're really good these days, but yeah.
Huh?
I said, we're really good these days, though.
Yeah, no, we're really good. My Hindi is like now,
advanced. Oh God. Your next show for Amazon, which you've been shooting with Shahid Kapoor, can you tell us anything? Give us plot, details, story, anything you can tell us about it. Is it funny? What can we expect?
We're in the middle of it. We shot like a third of it, and then we had to shut down. And having a lot of fun. We're missing each other. Like Shahid is messaging, we message each other.
Shahid day. Cannot wait to get back on shoot, and neither can we. And at least he's allowing us to focus on this release now. But otherwise,
we've got a set of really, really good actors in that series. Right? Again, a lot of people that you haven't seen before. So we love to mix it up. Ideally, from our first film, we always try to mix up some newish people. I don't know if they're technically first timers or what, but the great talent. So it's a mixture of these, known faces and a lot of interesting new people. So yeah, it's our kind. It's a genre mix. I don't know what it is. It's a genre mix. It's crime.
Well, the next time we get on a panel like this, maybe you can tell us what genre you thought it is in.
Yeah,
it's comedy plus what.
It's been 2 years since Family Man. I still haven't figured that one out. I think you guys are just trying to make stuff to mess with IMDb, because whoever's job it is to put a genre to a project, they have no idea what
You guys, both of you are software engineers and you worked with software companies in US. So What made you guys leave that life and start, venture into, movie making, writing, and that to writing comedy? Because Shore in the City, Go Goa Gone, and Stree is probably one of the best comedies I've watched.
Literally anybody that I know, all my friends, everybody always talk about making a movie. And I guess we kind of made a choice of, putting everything on hold and actually getting around to doing it. Yeah, so we did that. I mean, but we also took baby steps. It's not like suddenly one day you drop everything and you just go and make a movie. It's not going to work out. But yeah, we started double timing it. On weekends, we would make a movie. During the weekdays, we were working as software consultants. And slowly, when we felt bolder, you take a break and you make a movie and come back to your job. So you always keep that safety net open for a few years. And I guess
that's what our engineering backgrounds taught us, is to be a little logical and be maybe reverse engineer. Two things we learned.
Huge fan. I still have your clipping from Go Goa Gone days. Don't know if you could see that without your beard. But yeah, I loved 99 when I saw it initially in the theaters. But the moment that got me, it's a very obscure moment. It was while I was watching Go Goa Gone in the theater. And these two guys are arguing about who's going to pick up the remote. Then you get a wide shot, an overhead shot, and then you just circle the remote. I was like, wow, that's so hilarious. And so, because what I was trying to say is, like, there are two main kinds of comedy in India, as far as I know. There's a slapstick where you have Hera Feris, the good ones, and the bad ones, like The Houseful. And then you have the dialogue-heavy comedies, like in Telugu movies, like Trivikram's satire movies and stuff. But yours is a very directorial kind of a comedy. It's all directorial choices. Like even in Flavors, which I watched a couple of weeks back, you have the three friends deciding about what they should do, make a movie. And then they all break the fourth wall, look at the audience, right? These are such wacky stuff. And like every frame I feel of your movies has some comedy going on over there. So do you guys script it, or does it come like while you're shooting or while you're editing, or how do you come up with these wacky directorial comedy choices?
Well, I mean, to start off, we write to direct only, right? So, for example, that particular example was always there in the script. Like that's probably the first scene we wrote, I think, for that. I mean, even for the whole idea, these two guys sitting, because it's a movie about zombies, they're watching a zombie film on TV, and they're slackers. And so we put everything we wanted to put about slackers in that. It's like they're so lazy, they're so low on energy, they can't even reach the remote. That's how this thing, and then then you come up with ideas to enhance it, right? You're looking at anything. It'd be so funny if you were to say you put a circle on the remote and put an arrow and say it's 3 feet from him and 3 feet from him. So who's closer? All those ideas.
What is your approach when you're writing a film versus when you're writing a web series? What is the main difference that you'll keep in mind for that?
The story itself, the premise has to be, you cannot convert a film story into a series that easily. That's the first thing everybody tried to do in a scramble when the OTT space started, that they all try to convert their film scripts into series, and it doesn't really work out very well. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's great. Like Scam is a great series. For a limited series, the story ends. So you need a premise that can go beyond. Otherwise, you'll start getting into anthology series and stuff like that. So premise and the character, the central character, like Shrikant Tiwari, or the premise that there is a task force that works on stopping security threats or whatever, that gives you opportunities to set it in. Like right now, it's setting Chennai. Last time it was going to Kashmir a bit. Next time it might go somewhere else, and there is enough for it to continue for however long we want.
And yeah, there's a clue in season 2 as to where next time it's gonna go. Once you watch it, you'll know.